every fucking server that I even play on is offline.
Time to play a new server.
Oh, yeah. It looks like mine aren't the only ones.
That's
They had
right.
come under a DDoS attack as their servers were flooded with artificial traffic until they shut down from the strain.
It's kind of crazy to think about it because I remember this is whenever I started making content. I started making my YouTube videos. I had first started, I was making like videos off and on in Mists of Pandaria. And then WAD came out, and the beta for WAD came out, and I played the shit out of it. Like I made so many fucking videos, and like that was the Asmongold channel and fucking everything, man. It was great.
This would go on for several days as law enforcement investigated into the matter.
Lizard Squad
Meanwhile,
wasn't.
though,
I think it was
players
classic,
would become
wasn't it?
increasingly frustrated as the game remained to be mostly unplayable. The culprits were eventually stopped, but
Oh,
the
it wasn't.
damage had been done, and the game experienced its worst launch since its initial release in 2004.
Yeah,
What's
5
more,
free
once
days.
the issue subsided, players were met with what is now widely considered to be one of the worst expansions in the game's history.
the biggest
main
dick.
feature of the expansion, the garrison system, isolated players in their own instance, where they could
I
recruit
remember they added trade
Yeah,
chat
yeah,
to the
that's all
garrison,
those
and
are
I was on the forums, and I think you'll probably find this. Whenever I went and I said back then, I said this is not good. Nobody's gonna leave their garrison, and people was like, oh no. I said yeah, and they said no, and then Blizzard did it, and I was right, and they were wrong. So fuck them.
followers, start an herb garden,
Oh my God,
mine,
that made me
craft,
mad.
and even use the auction house with the correct buildings. Although convenient, it served as yet another feature to alienate an already fractured community from each other.
Oh my
the
God,
game at times
those
seemed as
missions.
if it was single player.
Like y'all don't remember this, but like that maybe you do. But like you had to level up your followers because the missions would give you mythic level raid gear. Like as soon as you unlocked it, you would get mythic level raid gear out of a box every week.
Problem made worse by
So you
the
had to
massive
do the
hemorrhage of
missions.
subscribers that was yet to come.
Yep.
Just as how the expansion broke subscription records on launch, it also broke records for lost subscriptions shortly after. As players
Bro, the day this came out, I made a YouTube video about it, and I remember I mauled it out so fucking hard that it was on the front page of Reddit. Like this is in like 2014 or something. And it was like the front page, like this video got so many fucking views. It was a big deal. No, you didn't? Yeah, I fucking did. Go back and watch it.
Прекрасный удар.
little enjoyment
Просто
from
опять.
what was eventually ousted as an unfinished expansion, as many of the
Показывает
features
хороший удар,
previously
сразу
teased
обсирают.
would be left on the cutting room floor, including new systems,
Показывает хороший удар
two
под
major
чел, у которого
cities,
все идеально нахуй, а я
battlegrounds,
опять
another zone,
стараюсь.
and even an entire raid tier, to name just a few.
That was the thing, is like everybody wanted, I think this is what was so frustrating about it, is like so many people wanted the game to be good, and it just fucking wasn't back then. Like it was so frustrating for people because of that. It was awful because everybody thought that like, okay, this is gonna be it. They're gonna bring everything back. It's gonna be the same as it used to be, and it just did not fucking happen, man. It was awful.
And between patches would grow even larger,
Красная
and the
гулян.
patches themselves delivered less content. The expansion held a total of just 3 major raids
Просто
throughout its
невероятно.
entirety, with every expansion preceding having at least 4. The combined effect of instant
Yeah,
scare
it's like the raid content, like people don't realize how bad WAD really was. Like WAD was absolutely legitimately fucking garbage. It was one of the worst raid tiers. Like it was it was the worst expansion ever. I'm trying to find this video. I'm not really sure exactly where it is. It's one of these here. But like, yeah, these are all my videos 7 years ago, looking at gold farming spots realistically. It's one of these here. And it's like me just, oh, there it is. Yep, here we go. Let's watch 3 seconds of this.
What's up, y'all? It's me, it's your boy Asmongold, and today we're going to talk about the fact that in the first quarter of 2015, World of Warcraft has lost 2.9
Просто
million
заявление
subscribers. And so just to put that into perspective for everyone here, that means that in a 3-month period, they've lost over 1/4 of their entire
Yeah,
subscriber
Michelle.
population. And you know the only real question I have to ask here is anyone really surprised? Is anyone really surprised whenever people decide that they're not going to pay money to play Farmville anymore? Is anyone really surprised when people get tired of running the same treadmill on 4 different difficulties? Is anyone really surprised if people get burnt out of an MMO that you don't even need to interact with another player in order
Нахуй
to kill the last
гуля
boss of
нужна в
the
этой игре
game?
действительно.
It is honestly, it is a huge disappointment to me. It's a huge disappointment to a lot of other people. Like, if you go to Twitch TV, look guys, if you want a comparison here, RuneScape has more viewers than World of Warcraft, okay?
So yeah, I wasn't happy about it. I wasn't fucking happy about it. Yep, that's right. I was a viewer count Andy. There you go.
Persons and players flocking away made the new world seem dead, and so more and more
Oh,
servers
that went on
would
for
be connected
17
to
minutes,
each
by the way.
other in an attempt to bring life back into the dying world. As subscriptions plummeted to an all-time low since its initial rise in vanilla at 5.5 million, it was announced shortly after that they would no longer
Что ж,
report
когда я мог
subscription
играть
numbers,
2 гули и
stating
не
that they were
срабатывал,
better
блядь, плей
indicators
нахуй.
Problem solved.
of business
Так прекрасно.
performance. The message
Просто меня
was
обосрали
clear.
плей с 2
Where they
гулями
had
до
lost
этого,
revenue
когда я
and
гениальным путем
subscriptions,
нахуй
they gained
отыгрывал от
several
всякой
times
хуйни,
over
и
via
что
the
можно
paid
такое
level
предложить,
boost.
что, блядь,
Ain't that
Success
это,
was
блядь,
no
здесь
longer
не
tied
поможет
to a
нахуй.
healthy player base,
Ain't that
but
just a
rather
little
Мне
bit of
удалять
something?
нечего.
and although looked at
Где удалить
today
нечего
as an
нахуй, потому что,
embarrassing
блядь, единственный
period in
вектор
the
это,
game's
блядь,
history,
42,
financially it lifted
который мне
the
оставили.
developer to new
Это
heights.
просто бафать
Combined with other
на
Sure
subscription
did.
61 картах.
services, the level boost and the Warlords of Draenor played a large
Просто
role in
уебище
Activision
нахуй.
Blizzard's best financial quarter to date.
This was Bobby's this was the rise of Bobby. You have to understand that, like, you see all of these other characters.
Просто максимально
Imagine Bobby is the
линейное
puppet master behind
сражение, которое
everything.
только возможно.
You know, he's got, you know, instead of eyes, he's got dollar signs instead of pupils. You know, he's just fucking moving everybody around and everything.
они все
Yeah,
линейные.
that's right.
О чем вообще
The
речь?
influence of the cash shop now fully realized,
Они,
it
блядь,
would be
все
taken a step
линейные.
further in March of 2015 with the addition of the WoW token, where players
трэшно.
could exchange real
Ой,
money
ещё раз
for
говно
in-game
ебаное.
gold, or on the other hand,
Просто
use gold
хуярят,
to purchase a
плохую
token
аномалию.
to pay for the subscription
Yep.
fee, or convert it into a balance only spendable on Blizzard products. Regardless of the method, it would prove to be a massive commercial success for
Huge success. People love buying gold. Why
Это
not let them
троллинг
buy
ебаный. На
gold?
этот раз такой же
Activision
заход
Blizzard
хуярят, такую же
earning the
аномалию
record
хуярят,
profits
только
during
без
record low
всех
subscriptions. A long time had
раскрытия
passed
там и так
since
далее.
the cash shop's initial rise
Там только
in
ну, на
2008.
еле-еле чё,
Those
хотим
who
звери
warned of the dangerous
и...
path that World of Warcraft was set on
Да и всё.
saw their predictions unfold slowly over the course of several years. At this point in the game's history, it was
Просто
possible
Hellfish.
to buy levels, it was possible to buy currency, and with this currency, you could buy items and even services from other players, such as raid or arena carries, and the list of things that you couldn't buy was now far shorter than the list of things that you could buy. It was at this point that the game was deemed by many to be pay to win, as real-life purchases now had a clear and heavy
Yeah.
impact on the power levels between different players. Behavior
The
that
WoW token was whenever the game was pay to win. The game was not pay to win before the WoW token. The game was pay to win after the WoW token. You could argue that boosting is pay to win. I think any reasonable person would say getting to max level in an MMO nowadays is not winning, right? It's just not. WoW token was pay to win.
previously warranted suspensions
I'll have to find my video about
was now
that.
officially endorsed and advertised, and any semblance of integrity the game had left was abandoned. Though
Yeah.
at this point, subscriptions were no longer being reported, morale of the game's future continued to decline.
It was so bad back then. Like, you guys have no idea how fucking bad it was. Like, WoD was by far the worst the game has ever been. And I find it to be so ridiculous that people even think that BFA was even remotely close. WoD was the pits of oblivion. But
In
Legion-
August of the same year, at the Gamescom convention, the next expansion, Legion, would be announced. The long-lost Broken Isles were discovered.
By the way, I predicted that. I can go back in my other video predicting that it was going to be the Legion.
Да. Прекрасно.
You know, I mean, it is nice.
And the Orc Warlock, Gul'dan, unleashed a second burning crusade upon Azeroth. It would feature a new class, the Demon Hunter,
Yeah.
among many supporting systems such as powerful
This
and
was
unique
fucking
artifact
crazy.
weapons that
Yeah.
players could obtain and level up as an additional form of character progression. Each class would have a story-driven Order Hall campaign quest line. A new legendary system would be added, where
Ну,
for
блядь,
most
карты не
activities in
хотят
the
умирать
game,
просто.
players had a small chance
Ясно.
to obtain powerful legendary
wow.
items to further enhance their
Wow.
characters.
Bro, that's exactly what it was.
Aura.
This is the perfect clip right here. Getting Safuz, and then somebody types LOL. There it is.
Ура.
Because you knew every single time. I
Просто,
remember,
блядь,
where was
уран.
the clip of Zach?
Просто, блядь, уран.
Oh my god, bro. Like, let me see if I can find this real quick. Oh my god. I don't know where it is. I'll find it another time. I remember Zach, we were doing like Nighthold, and he got the helmet for Hunters, the Feigned Death helmet, and he immediately was like, "Ah!" And he threw himself on the ground behind his fucking PC. No, not Zach Rar. Mick Larivi. Yeah, Mick
Daily
Larivi.
quest
Yep.
hubs would be replaced with world quests, offering a greater variety in daily activities, which had become standard for several years, and the Mythic Plus system, an infinitely scaling times challenge mode to bring dungeons back once more as a focus of endgame content.
Dude, Mythic Plus was actually...
After the Warlord
This shit was so funny. Like, I'm sorry, but like, this shit was fucking hilarious. Like, whenever they had like the what was it called, Eki Homo, and it showed like all of the different characters or all the different servers. Wow, it was amazing.
Lords of Draenor, the confidence of the players was at an all-time low, and many would hope that Legion would be the expansion to
Yeah,
redeem it.
Mythic Plus
Although
was lit
subscription
in Legion.
numbers were no longer being reported, it had timed the release day sales records set by Cataclysm several years prior, selling a total of 3.3 million copies on release.
Big day.
Quarterly investor reports would also provide promising data on the overall
Yup.
reception of the Legion expansion, suggesting higher playtime per player. Mostly due to the
Yup.
success of its major features,
Mythic
the
Plus.
expansion as a whole proved to be a much-needed recovery. The Order Halls being public locations that players
What's also, it was like a focus on like core WoW lore. You know, you've got like Varian, you've got Illidan, you've got fucking Malfurion, you've got Tyrande, you've got Jaina, you've got all of those characters and everything like that. Like, that's what it was, man. It was great. Timestamp, what's this video? Oh, yep, there we
Да,
go.
почему бы
Here
не
we go. Let's
пособирать
see
здесь
this.
В тройке.
There it is.
Ай, бля, ебаное говно, блядь.
And there he goes.
We were gonna like.
Yep. There it is. That was the, those were the good
Тройки
days,
против
right?
четверки.
That was it.
Прям пятом.
Here we go.
shared served as a base of
Yeah,
operations.
the silver
and,
hand again?
unlike the
Fuck
previous
yeah.
garrison system, didn't harm its
That's
own
exactly
social
what
aspect.
Paladins wanted.
World quests, compared to the old daily hubs, offered much needed variety
Is he mad
in
though? 'Cause
players'
it
daily
sucked.
activities, and Mythic Plus saw high activity as players enjoyed the timed, ever-increasing challenge that they provided.
Yep.
Most of its features were received well, and with a solid releasing to support it, it's generally looked back at favorably
Yeah.
by even the most
Это
embittered
пиздец,
fans,
блядь.
with its criticisms primarily being
Это
drawn
пиздец.
from its
Got my
reward
fourth
structure.
garbage
The
legendary.
legendaries, due to their low drop chance and high impact on gameplay, would be a source of frustration, so much so that they would receive a rehaul late.
I'll keep in mind that on the announcement of Legion, Blizzard said you were able to target the legendaries. They said you would be able to target them, and they fucking lied.
Into the expansion, where players could purchase specific pieces
Почему
with
бы
the
и
new
не остаться
currency.
в
And
четверке?
similarly, the forging system also contributed to
Ooh.
this
Четверки
Четверки еще
atmosphere of
относительно
luck
адекватно.
by holding early.
Look at
Yeah,
that,
those
bro.
pictures
Like
was-
880. Like, that's fucking insane. Look at that eye level. Oh my god. Like, this was nuts. Like, I remember my mom, she got a ring in the first tier that was like it was like an 895 or an 890. It was like basically the item level cap out of a world quest. It was like a plus 65 Titan Forge. And I was like, what the fuck? How'd you get that? And she's like, I don't know. I just did the quest and it gave me this ring. Is it good? It's got a lot of stats. Look at the number on it. It's a lot. And I'm like, yeah, it's fucking good. Use it. I was so pissed.
The forging system also contributed to this atmosphere of luck by holding too much power
Yep.
in character progression. At this point, it was called Titan Forging, which
Yep.
had a much larger eye-level range compared to the more tame Thunder Forging first
И под меня
introduced in
выставляемся
Pandaria.
нахуй идеально.
Items could
Блять,
roll up to 60 eye levels
бились
higher
вопросы.
than that of their base, which
Чел
made it possible
лапается в
to
пятерку,
obtain
под
mythic
него
rating
выставляемся
quality
нахуй.
gear from
Просто,
even the
блять,
most mundane
я ебал нахуй
activities.
эти
That's right.
World of
алгоритмические мувы,
Warcraft
блять,
and
уже.
MMOs in general
Я просто
already
ебал эти
have a high
алгоритмы
amount
тупорылые.
of luck tied to
Просто рот
progression,
ебал.
They
but
sure
this
do.
Я
added
рот
layer
ебал
of
нахуй.
waiting the right piece to
Я просто
drop,
получаю,
and
блядь,
for that
14
piece to
дэмэджа с
Titan
нихуя.
Forge
God,
shifted the
dude.
reward structure
Ну, шо ж.
further from time investment to
Why
blind
not?
luck, and combined with the legendary
Why fucking
system,
not?
many players would liken the
Why
expansion
fucking
to a
not?
slot machine.
Oh my god, please show it.
Не
Please show
закидывай,
it.
Overall,
обкидывает экономику.
Legion
Aw,
received
damn
quite
it.
well. It was met with troubling news from within. Senior Vice President of Story and
Я просто
Franchise
не ожидал
Development,
даже.
Chris Metzen, who had been with the company for 23 years
There
at
he
that
is.
point, had announced his retirement, citing burnout, panic attacks, and the desire to spend more time with his family as the primary reasons for the decision.
Не,
What a
пизду, смотрите,
casual.
как мне дают роллы,
Having
нахуй,
been
так,
one
чтобы,
of the
блядь,
most-
я
I
ману
didn't blame
максимально
him. That's a
невыгодно
smart
тратил.
guy. Like, he saw where things were
Просто
going, and
прекрасно,
he was
блядь.
like, nope, I'm
Триплетов,
done with
блядь,
this shit. This
даплета
is too
нахуй не
much,
приходит,
man.
блядь, вовремя
Too
нахуй.
fucking much.
Просто
It was weird
замечательно.
whenever Chris Metzen retired, right? Because, like, I remember I went back and I looked at, like, all
Ой,
my
бля.
Warcraft 2 books and everything, and, like, he did a lot of
Это
the
чушь,
drawings for
вот
this.
это
Like, man,
чушь. Просто,
this
блядь,
guy
нету
was
карт.
here the whole time, man.
Просто не карта пришли.
Public-facing figures and a primary visionary for the World of Warcraft and the characters
Yeah.
who inhabited it.
He was
it
the
seen as
guy.
a tremendous
Заебало
loss,
нахуй.
with fans and co-workers alike commenting on his influence on the franchise.
Great presenter, yeah.
Along with this newfound growth of Legion, the private server community had also been thriving, and in 2016, it was larger than it had ever been at that point, with most congregating to a server named
И
Nostalrius.
каждый усиляется против меня, каждый усиляется,
many
нахуй.
goddamn
Каждый, блядь,
Yep.
каждый еблан
Literally, the
усиляется.
server's been up for about
People
10
were
Просто
streaming
every fucking
Nostalrius on
уебан
Twitch even.
усиляется.
Like, nobody gave a fuck.
На
You
максимум.
know who else was streaming Nostalrius?
Каждому дают
Пео.
усиление на максимум.
Peo was streaming
Передо мной.
private
Просто прекрасно.
servers on Twitch. And
Почему
I
бы нет?
followed Peo in like 2013
Так
and
оригинально нахуй.
2014.
Проигрыши, блядь, по
Like
алгоритму.
straight up. And I was like, this guy is an idiot, but at least I get to watch Vanilla WoW. Soda and S-Fan was doing it on YouTube. Soda did it as well. Yep, that's right.
minutes and people are just entering.
And
this-
Alex.
The server
Don't
had been
forget
hosting
about Alex.
over 130,000 active players worldwide, an impressive
Oh
feat
my
for
God.
a game that users had to seek
Man.
out on their own. Their success proved to be their downfall, however,
Yep.
as in April of 2016,
Это просто
Blizzard had
прекрасно.
sent cease and
И дают
desist
еще
letters
плохие
for those
роллы
responsible
вдобавок.
for running the server, threatening legal action if they refused to shut it down.
I
Крайне
personally
плохие.
had a private investigator hired to track me down by a legal firm. That
We watched
represents
this whenever it
Blizzard.
came out.
He called numerous people in my life, including my employer, my owner of my company, to confirm information about me so he could serve me papers at 10 p.m. on a Wednesday night, slamming and knocking on the door, freaking the crap out of my
Ну
wife,
что, это
and
нахуй.
waking up my baby daughter in the next room.
They would comply shortly after, as tens of thousands of players logged in one last time to say farewell to the community that they had built.
What the fuck?
shut-
Yeah, see, they don't do that shit in Texas. I gotta tell you that.
Down, although completely within
Ну,
Blizzard's
нету
rights
двоек, блядь,
legally,
просто.
naturally sparked outrage
Просто.
among the private server community. A petition was created for an officially developed Blizzard Legacy server,
It was
and it would reach nearly
huge.
300,000 signatures in the span of 2 weeks.
Bro,
and
I remember I got a tooth pulled the day that this happened, and it was the day before this happened, and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna make a video about this and talk about this right now, and I just took like a painkiller and I fucking recorded the video.
although it didn't
Yeah, I
provide
did.
immediate results, much like the infamous "you think you do, but you don't" quote,
Yup.
it would prove to be a critical moment in Classic's
This was
history.
massive, man. Then Soda made the video, and then I made the video, and then fucking like, dude, everybody started making videos. Like, and Alex made the video. It was crazy.
The next expansion would be revealed
JonTron made
at
the video,
BlizzCon
yeah.
2017, and players learned of the battle for Azeroth. Having thwarted the Second Burning
This is-
Crusade, the
this is
Horde
my
and
first
Alliance now
BlizzCon.
turned their attention on each other and would stage an all-out war over a new resource called Azerite.
Bro, I remember, so like basically we got invited to BlizzCon by Blizzard. Like Blizzard actually, like they paid for us to go out there and like everything. They put us in a hotel, like a whole fucking thing. Because we actually did all characters, like me, Hodded, Rich, and we had Jari on the show too. And the four of us went out to fucking California, and they told us, bro, I remember like the guy from Blizzard sat us down and he told us what was going to happen. And I remember the day that he said that Classic WoW was going to come out, like he was right there. I just fucking ran around the hotel. I was like, holy shit, it's actually going to happen. Because to be honest, I thought it just was over. I thought it was over, yeah. Yeah, that was the year that Annie and I wore matching Murloc outfits. That's right. That's exactly right.
This resource would serve as a way to empower a new amulet, the
Yep,
level
they
of
told us
which would
before the
unlock traits
announcement.
in accompanying armor pieces.
And I never signed the NDA either. I never signed the NDA because it went to my email and I never checked my email. And like they were like, ah, fuck it, it'll be fine. Whatever. And to be fair, I didn't tell anybody.
The system had been set up similarly to the previously successful artifact system and advertised increased customization and player agency, allowing them to tailor their characters to suit their gameplay style.
You might find a
And Azurite was a cool idea.
power that makes you think twice about using a talent that you'd previously written off. And you will
Makes you
certainly
think twice
find
about playing the game.
combinations that reinforce your favorite way
Champion!
of playing your character.
One of the main
Oh,
methods
wounds!
of obtaining
Rock!
this resource were through island expeditions,
I knew
where a team of
it!
3 players could fight against another team of players or AI for Azurite.
Dude, Island Expedition, PvP Island Expeditions were so cool.
Опять вектор,
man.
но дальше
And, like,
просто
Blizzard was
факт
just
наличия вектора меня не продвигает, потому что мне нужны двойки нейтральные,
never
которых, блядь,
mind.
миллиард.
Throughout the island,
was so
with
cool, I loved
enemy
it.
selection, placement,
Просто
and quests
замечательно.
serving
Там
as
уже
the primary
перескейлили, я
means
так
of
понимаю.
attempting to add
Как говорил
replayability
Коля.
and longevity to
They
them.
tried.
Это кринж.
It's something that we're calling dynamic replayability. Every time you come to this space, the puzzle is different. The creatures are in different locations. There are additional gameplay elements scattered throughout the world, and it's always a little bit different.
Warfronts were a new feature, which were reminiscent of the original strategy games that the MMO was based off of. In here, you would battle for resources, and construct and upgrade buildings, and fend off troops
Oh my
with the
God!
ultimate goal of defeating the enemy commander.
Dude, I was so hyped, man. I was unironically bat-chesting. I was like, what? They're adding in Warcraft 2. Oh my god, those are the fucking... This is so cool. I was so excited for Warfronts, man. Jesus.
Wouldn't be the only announcements the World of Warcraft team had, though.
Yes.
And I want to talk about ice cream.
I recorded this.
Ice cream is great.
Because I knew it was coming.
Ice cream is one of my
Yep.
favorite desserts. Personally, I love chocolate and I love cookies and cream. Cookies and cream is actually my all-time favorite dessert. But I understand that for some of you, your favorite flavor is vanilla.
This shit was fucking ridiculous, bro.
Though for years they had claimed a
Holy
re-release
shit,
of previous
this was so
versions of the
good.
game was impossible. World of Warcraft Classic would be unveiled.
Просто, ну почему бы
combining
не
the updated
заворскелить,
Legion
блядь,
client with
и
old
не
data
спрятать
Thanks,
нахуй, какую-то,
Omar.
блядь, просто
of a
чушь
backup
ебаную нахуй мне
held
поставить на
onto by
Юдоре
an
нахуй,
ex-employee.
почему бы нет?
A small team dedicated their efforts in
Просто
providing a
выиграть
home
невероятным
for the
образом.
ever-growing population of vanilla fans
Вероятно,
in place of the one
дислогично.
that they had not so long ago taken away.
Сказочные долбоебы.
Details of development
There he
would
is.
follow
Просто
shortly
прекрасно.
after, with a philosophy of changing as little of the game as
Удобно.
possible in an effort
The only thing I had to feel bad for Omar for is having to listen to S-Fend. Fucking dude, S-Fend would try to get a hold of
Бам,
the classic
пиздец.
devs all the time. I'd be like, listen, so
Кайфарики.
paladins, they don't really work this way, and so what they really need is so
Я
like,
там
alright,
зверя не
so
могу,
in
блядь,
patch
это говно брать.
1.13, so there's a change, but then it got reverted in 1.14.
Yeah.
And so, like, what
Я
really
уже не
paladins need to
успеваю
have in order
Тарима
for them to be
найти.
good. And
Татара.
like fucking
Удается
god.
так как хуярить.
To most accurately recreate the
Yep.
experience as it was from 2004 to 2007, including a phasing schedule
They're
to match
originally gonna do
roughly the
4,
original
and then
release
went up to
schedule,
6.
and as requested by the player base, the absence of many features such as the dungeon finder,
Yep.
looking for raid mode,
Yep.
and the endgame cash shop, to name just a few. Combined with Legion's recent success, the outlook of the game was looking more promising
really
than ever
good.
before. The Battle for Azeroth soon
It was
saw its
looking
release
great.
in August of 2018, selling
Какая же
3.4
ёбаная
million copies
бессмыслица,
on its
блядь,
first
просто
day,
пиздец.
breaking the record
Просто я же
initially
сказал,
set by
меня просто
Cataclysm
не
in
доскеливают
2010.
нахуй все.
However,
Просто
when the
пизда.
honeymoon phase ended, the faults of the expansion started to become clear. The Azerite armor system, which was said to hold major traits that altered how classes played, instead were a series of incidental procs that rarely did anything
Просто
other than
очевидная
increase
хуйня.
damage done, healing
Постоянно.
throughput, and damage mitigation,
разом.
with some being just base stat increases.
So I've got an absorb on my Azerite gear, and then my weapon has on proc absorb. And then so my gloves, if I have them proc, I have an absorb. And I also got a belt that every 2 minutes I can use it, and it gives me an absorb. And also my charge, and I have a leech too, so it heals me. And basically every arena game takes 18 minutes, and I lose. That was fucking ridiculous. Peace
Очень-
Stickman,
очень
25
интересно.
gifted subs. Thanks a lot.
Очень,
And by the way,
блядь,
that was not a joke.
просто
Like that
браво.
literally was what it was like whenever Crucible came out. Weapon was the halberd, gloves from first boss,
330,
belt from I think
330.
first boss too. Yeah, that wasn't a meme.
You might find a power
Просто у челов
that
с
makes you
первого
think
хода,
twice
с
about
первого
using a
хода
talent
уже
that you
дается
previously
возможность,
That
блядь,
was
скейлиться
crazy.
заранее,
You'll
блядь,
certainly find combinations.
готовить себе все, блядь,
99
просто заранее,
is your
нахуй.
favorite way to play
Все
your
заранее уже
game.
подготовлено,
I
нахуй,
love
Not
против
at
меня,
all
блядь,
as
и все
gameplay
идеально.
altering as advertised.
Wow.
And despite BFA
Я
being
же не могу
centered
просто
around
ёбаного
faction
Тартара
war,
раскрутить.
Warfronts were
Одного ёбаного
exclusively
Тартара,
a
блядь.
PvE game mode
Do you guys remember-
that were also
Сейчас
nearly
считается
impossible
слабым
to
вектором,
lose, with
нахуй,
the only
и
recorded
я не
losses
могу его
resulting
раскрутить даже
from
никак.
the entire
That
team.
was me. That's whenever I fucking remember we got everybody together to lose the Warfront.
Потому что это гениальным
Is that
умом
who I think it
на
is
второй
right
таверне
here?
покупать карты, их нахуя на второй таверне.
Is that Spurgord, who I know
Oh,
is in
ёбищ.
chat right now? No, it's not. Oh, I thought it was. Never mind. Okay, I thought, yeah, there were a lot of people. Like this is
Я
this was
не
back in
занимал,
the
по-моему,
day,
сегодня
man.
топ-1.
Look how much different I look. Look, I look
Я
way
один раз на
different.
Мулуха занимал.
I think
Пьяно.
it's because my beard, maybe my hair too.
Waiting within the base until they were overwhelmed.
Wow, I'm screenshotting.
При том, что там
Due to this
флоу.
extreme lack
yeah.
of challenge, they were seen to be more of a chore than anything else.
Бля.
And as for island expeditions,
Lit.
players saw little
Хуйня,
replayability
блядь.
in the randomized selection of
Опять
enemies,
токенов
and
нету.
behind the bells and whistles was a simple and repetitive truth. Rush to get the required amount of Azerite before the enemy team does, and as a result, the game mode would become
Когда мне
very
показалось, что токенов
repetitive
нету,
very
токены
quickly.
оказывается есть.
It
Это
sure
The story
did.
would also come
Oh,
under heavy
no.
criticism. The whole expansion would have a heavy focus on Sylvanas Windrunner,
Oh.
the leader of the Forsaken of the Horde, and throughout BFA's 2-year run, she would face many major lore characters and even entire armies, outwitting them at every turn or dispatching them with ease in combat. The decisions she made often came with no reasonable explanation or logic, leaving the player base in the dark for the entirety of the expansion.
Well, we're still in the dark, really. I mean, it still doesn't really make sense. Yeah. Was what morally gray? Sylvanas was really cool, man. Like, she was actually one of the better characters in, like, Cataclysm and shit. She was great. I don't know what happened.
And many would liken her to a Mary Sue, a fiction archetype who is inexplicably free of any and all weakness. Such
Oh, no. Any Christorians? Oh, my God.
traits are also common through self-inserts, which there was also evidence of, as a writer for Blizzard would roleplay as a major character, Nathanos Blightcaller, on Twitter. The narrative structure remained ambiguous throughout the entirety of the expansion, with most criticism being made towards the ending, as was custom with the final boss of an expansion since the Wrath of the Lich King.
Yep.
Players were treated with the finale cutscene.
That
It
was
would typically
crazy.
run a few minutes and were fully voice-acted animation presentations.
Is it over?
No.
At long last.
Next week, they're going to kill you for
No
Invincible
king
again.
rules forever, my son.
Though for the Battle for Azeroth, the old god N'Zoth would be the finale, with years of anticipation building up as his existence was referenced several times up to the final patch of the expansion, and where players expected a similar voice-acted dialogue between the major lore characters and their thoughts on defeating a god. They were instead met with the same footage I just droned over in a monotone manner. The feedback was immediate and clear, and shortly after its premiere, the video would be unlisted as Blizzard tried to hide the blundered finish to a blunder of an expansion.
God!
распределение ботов. Точнее, пусть любезно удаляет демона и получает один дамаг.
The initial wave of excitement quickly soured as all three major systems of the expansion fell short of their goals. They would later be addressed in major patches, though players would have to wait nearly a year following their initial release. In response, monthly active users would start taking a dive, and in an attempt to bolster engagement metrics, the expansion would aim to rely on what many described to be an excessive amount of activities
Plus
designed around
100
daily
depression.
and weekly timers. By the end of the expansion's lifespan,
Bro, I actually have, I know y'all, let me see if I can show y'all this. This is from, I started this back in the day. Let's see, can I get this to work? Yeah, 1 second. So that right there, I have a list. Mirrors, Famu, Tear Guard Sound. Like, I actually have a whole list of everything that I have to do. And I started that back in fucking in BFA. I wrote everything down. Where's Gmod? Oh, that I don't need to write that down. I don't forget it. Diligent farming. That's right. I remember this one came from his video.
this would be the full list. Many would comment that the entire game at this point had devolved into a list of chores that she had a limited amount of time to complete, aimed to keep players in a gerbil-like routine of going down a checklist for their daily session. Instead of feeling rewarded for their playtime and dedication, many would feel punished for missing sessions and question their reasons for playing to begin with. And just 2 months after release, Blizzard would suffer another devastating departure, as co-founder Mike Morhaime announced that he was stepping down as company president, promoting then executive producer J. Allen Brack.
All black hair, by the way. Just a little bit of gray from Classic WoW. Everything's pretty much fine. Yeah, I got some rude comments, but it is what it is, right? And it just went downhill from there.
To take his place. More troubling still, these people weren't quitting game development, they were quitting Blizzard. Later in 2020, Morhaime would announce a new company, Dreamhaven, and under its umbrella were two studios, Moonshot Games and Secret Door, of which many former members of Blizzard would be employed. In its announcement, they would stress that the goal of the company would be to prioritize product quality and player experience over short-term financial pressures, a development mindset that many fans say Activision Blizzard had abandoned long ago. Chris Metzen would later found Warchief Gaming, which is dedicated to developing worlds and tabletop experiences. And outside of World of Warcraft, the former Hearthstone director Ben Brode would launch the game studio.
Bro, this guy was like the entire soul of Hearthstone. Like, I never played Hearthstone, but every single time that I saw him do something about Hearthstone, it totally made me want to play. He was fucking great, man.
Second dinner. Ex-StarCraft 2 developers would join Frost Giant and work towards developing a new RTS, and Lightforge game was opened by former Blizzard engineer Matt Shimbari and would later partner with Dreamhaven. Morhaime would be just one of many longtime talent leaving the company in recent years, and his departure would be instrumental in what would later be known as brain drain afflicting the developer. Slowly but surely, the people who made Blizzard what they were departing. This rash of departures would be downplayed as ordinary for the world of game development, in that the games were more about the team rather than individual members. But internally, employees shared a different story. Rather that these people were irreplaceable mentors, that they drew inspiration from each other, and that each departure would be accompanied by a negative, cascading effect to those left behind. And just months later, another co-founder, Frank Pierce, would be the next to announce his departure,
we never hear about
leaving
him.
just Alan Adam as the last co-founder standing. Development with Classic was progressing steadily, and a release date for the summer of 2019 was announced. A new game within the Warcraft franchise was also revealed. Warcraft 3 Reforged would advertise fully remodeled characters and animations, as well as retuned maps and campaigns in this modern-day remaster.
As I said, does it strike anybody else as not a coincidence that the moment that Warcraft 3 Reforged came out and it was really bad, the entire WoW community stopped asking for reforging? You never hear about people wanting reforging anymore, do you? Yeah, because Warcraft 3 got that. We don't want that again. Nope.
With the set release year of 2019, this would later be delayed to January 2020 in an official post, citing delays in development
Yeah, people mauled
and
it
the
over
desire
this.
to retain a high-quality standard that the player base held them to. Though not pertaining to the World of Warcraft directly, but would transpire with the development of Warcraft 3 and other titles, revealed the priorities and development practices of Blizzard as a whole, and
that's
set the standard of how they would treat their community across all franchises, World of Warcraft included. This was also the BlizzCon where they
0.6,
announced
that was
the
like my
mobile
GPA
Diablo
in
game,
freshman year.
which was met with a less than desirable reception.
I feel so bad for was that Wyatt Chang? Like, I feel so bad for that dude, man, because it's just like he knows, you know what I mean? Like, he knows, like, it's just like, fuck. I mean, because they couldn't announce Diablo 4 yet, and he's just stuck there, you know? Like, fuck. He's the fall guy, yeah.
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
But that's a story for another time. To make matters worse, the following years, although financially successful, would prove to be the most damaging to their reputation.
Yep.
So reaching historic revenue earnings, treatment of their employees would become the focus of negative press. In February of 2019,
That's when they
800
fired
employees would
Caden.
be fired, many without warning,
Yep.
and were left crying in the parking lot.
Bro, I remember, like, I don't remember what it was, but, like, I think they didn't even know it was going to happen until they just came in that day, and they were just like, hey, so by the way, you're done. It was awful, man. I felt so bad. Like, it's like, I know a company can do that, right? And I get that, right? But it still sucks.
This is a trend that would continue through the following years of record-breaking profits, with massive layoffs and multi-million-dollar CEO bonuses following shortly after. In one instance,
Yeah,
employees would
Bobby's
be given
$200
gift
million
cards to the
bonus.
games that they just got fired from working on their way out. Hey, here's some Overwatch skins. You're fired, by the way.
It was really kind of impressive, you know? Like, they laid him off, giving him 9 days severance and $200 in BattleNet balance. That is just incredible. Wow. $200 in BattleNet balance.
And in other cases, the amount of people fired would be underreported. Combined with
Yeah,
the poor
I bet.
reception of the Battle for Azeroth, their reputation had quickly started to
$200
sour
million
from that of a
bonus.
community-first industry
Thanks,
innovator
Bobby.
to one operated on greed, predatory business practices, and the cold treatment of their employees and even their player base. Little did
Jesus.
everyone know, though, the worst was yet to come.
Oh my god, bro.
И вон
Since
роллы. Чё лучше
2008,
шестерки
they
он
had
предлагает
hosted
нам
an
по
esports
четверке?
event called the Arena
Я
World
такого нет.
Championship.
Who was it that put their neck out there to
Вы
fucking put
видели,
this
какие у
information out there?
меня хуйни
I think it was Snuts, right? Wasn't it
приходится
Snuts that put his
тратиться на
fucking
всё
neck out there? Yeah, I
Чтобы собрать
remember that.
пятерку.
And then I brought that shit
Пятерку
up, and
катал.
everybody was like, "Holy shit!"
Просто, блядь, ну что?
Because like that, nobody was gonna know about this. So basically, he'll explain it.
2008, they had hosted an
This is
esports
really good.
event called the Arena World Championship,
Wow.
or AWC, where high-end competitive players would face off in a tournament-style competition of the game's arena mode
That's
for cash
crazy.
prizes, ranging from $120,000 since its inception in 2008 to $280,000 in 2018.
Amazing.
For 2019, however, they had announced a special campaign where players would be able
Yeah.
to contribute to the ever-growing prize pool. 2 new toys,
I think I bought one
the
of these
Transmorpher Beacon and some faction
to
themed
support it, you
fireworks
know?
were made to be available in the in-game cash shop, and to encourage sales, 25% of the proceeds would contribute towards the prize pool of both the Arena World Championship and also the Mythic Dungeon International, stating that the support of the players would help take the WoW esports scene to the next level.
The next level. And the thing is, you know what was so sad about that was the fact that, like, So Sea-Doo, me, like all of the PvP streamers push this. They said, you know, listen, like if you want to support like the whole PvP scene, buy this, and you know, like you can support us. And like I even defended 25% because that was the same percentage that Dota took whenever they used part of the money that they got from whatever the fuck they sell regularly for the prize pool. So I defended this. I did. PvP streamers? Oh, I wasn't a PvP streamer. No. But like, I mean, like Venruki, fucking like Sea-Doo, Zico, you know, all the normal guys, right? The compendium, because that's what their percentage was. So I'm like, yeah, this is industry standard. It's low, but this is what they usually do. I'm just glad they're doing something, right? So I actually defended this shit.
They also assured that a minimum prize pool of 500,000 would be offered, split up evenly between the two events. Considering that all announcements used verbiage such as help or contribute, the player base had assumed that this $500,000 prize pool would be funded by Blizzard as they had done for a decade prior.
Of course.
And that the proceeds of the toy sales would, well, contribute to the total.
Why would anybody think that? Why would anybody think that this would possibly happen? Help a billion-dollar company? I have no problem with a player-funded, a crowd-funded prize pool for like a little fucking bullshit toy. Like, I think that's totally fine. Almost all games do this. It's not a big deal.
Stated. But after the campaign had concluded, though, fans were dismayed to learn that they didn't help nor contribute, as Blizzard pocketed what they would usually put up and put the responsibility on funding the entirety of the prize pool on the player base, as confirmed by an AWC participant, Snuts.
Yes, so let's rephrase this. Holy shit! Look who it is! I remember this. So, wasn't I in BRD here? I think I was. People gave Blizzard so much money, Blizzard decided to give themselves even more.
Right. So they collected around $2.6 million, give or take. And instead of adding prize money for themselves, they just pocketed $2 million and decided to just use the money that the community gave us and pay for their tournament.
Both competitors and viewers expressed their anger, stating that they had felt deceived and that the good nature of those wishing to support the esports community of Blizzard were taken advantage of. Blizzard would never acknowledge the controversy.
They're so stupid for this. They're so stupid because they could have done this every year and made a free $2 million. All it would have costed them is $500,000 to make a free $2 million every year. But now they can't do it again because nobody trusts them. They're just stupid. Like, that's all there is to it. They're just straight fucking stupid. I don't understand why this happened. This was the most unnecessary, like, breaking of trust that Blizzard has ever done.
And the prize pools were funded solely by the crowdfunding campaign, and despite the self-proclaimed success in raising the funds, crowdfunding such as this would not be repeated for future tournaments, presumably due to the intense backlash that they
It hurt the players, it hurt the community, it hurt Blizzard, it hurt literally everyone. No, it was a literal zero-person win scenario.
received.
It didn't help Bobby. No, it didn't help Bobby. Like, I bet if I explained this to Bobby, he would say, yeah, we probably fucked up there. I can guarantee you. Do you honestly think that Bobby, he doesn't, do you really think that he would get in the way of his own money? No, of course not. Yeah, but you know, I genuinely believe that. I genuinely believe that if I explained it to Bobby and I said, this is what happened and like people feel this way, Bobby'd be like, yeah, I think that's fucked up. Yeah, I actually think he would. He probably had no idea about it. Oh, this was it.
World of Warcraft wasn't their only franchise that would be at the center of controversy.
No, it just kept getting better.
The Hearthstone division would attract the attention of national media.
Here's a story which just won't go away. Activision Blizzard. It has suspended a gamer and taken his prize money away because he made comments supporting Hong Kong protesters.
The protests in Hong Kong were at their climax at this point. Having been a British colony until 1997, when sovereignty of the territory was returned to China, Hong Kong would retain a separate legal and economic system with basic human rights safeguarded, in contrast to other cities in China, which are heavily governed by the authoritarian central government.
Everybody
in
is a
March
number.
of 2019, a bill would be proposed that would allow extraditions of fugitives to mainland China, which infringe on these rare freedoms. And due to China's opaque legal system, would allow the prosecution of citizens for political purposes.
Yeah.
Citizens
How
held marches
convenient.
and protests, which quickly turned violent after they were fired upon with tear gas, rubber bullets, pepper spray, and even live rounds as the situation spiraled out of control.
Of course.
In October of the same year, a tournament competitor, Jung Nai-wan, or Blitzchung, after a victory, took out a face mask similar to those being worn by the Hong Kong protesters and voiced his support to them, quoted, "Liberate Hong Kong, the revolution of our times." The feed was quickly cut, and the following day, Blizzard announced that Blitzchung had been banned from competing further in the tournament.
The two guys that were hosting it also got banned.
In addition to revoking the prize money that he had won up until that point, totaling $10,000. Additionally, he would be banned from competing for a full year, and the two casters interviewing Blitzchung at the time would also be fired. As a result,
I can understand why they, here's the thing, right? Is I understand why Blizzard did it, but they went above and beyond by taking away the guy's money and everything. They definitely did. It's they have to send a message. I think that really, if any other company besides Blizzard did this, nobody would have really cared. But it's because Blizzard made a lot of statements on social issues over and over and over that this is happening at the same time with question marks. Okay, so basically here's what I'm saying, right? Is it was against the rules for you to talk about political issues on the broadcast, right? And on top of that, putting the company and effectively hundreds of people's jobs at risk by losing access to selling a product in China, is this truly the morally right thing to do for the company? I think you can make an argument that it's not. And so I can see why they would make that decision on a pragmatic level. Yeah, and I can understand people say yes, 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 sure. You can say yes. I understand you guys say yes. But I guarantee you, if it was your mom or your dad who lost their job and now you're fucking homeless because of it, you're going to think about it a little bit different. So yes, it's always people are always able to ask somebody else to take a moral stand and make a massive sacrifice because they're completely separated from the problem. But I don't think that this is what I think it's so presumptuous to think that's going to happen. Yeah, it's easy to talk oh, this is what they should have done. No, it was not a completely morally black and white situation. It was absolutely not. No, yeah, it's virtue signaling. It's 100% virtue signaling. Exactly. I'd follow the money every day. Yeah, who asked? You're here. Not at my expense, though. Yeah. Why bring the subject up in the first place? Blizzard did the right thing by banning the player? I don't know if they did the right thing. I think that they overcommitted on punishing him. Does that make sense? Why is this any different than companies standing up for Ukraine now? Well, it's very simple. It's because companies don't stand to lose money for standing up for Ukraine. It's literally that simple. They don't stand to lose money. China is a massive fucking market. Do you think Blizzard is going to lose billions of dollars in revenue over being able to give somebody a platform to spread a political message? Do you think they're going to do that? No. They're not going to do that. There's about 1,000 people that work at the company. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's massive. Russians still get paid for WoW subs. Yeah, well, Russia's a lot smaller than China. China's fucking huge. I understand that there's some people that don't like this opinion because they feel like it's a I'm not treating it as important, right? It's oh well, you should do the right thing. No. I think, yeah, you should try to do the right thing, but I think it's always easier to tell somebody else to do the right thing than to do it yourself.
Activision Blizzard would swiftly come under heavy criticism, as many saw morality cast aside for vested financial interests.
Yes, exactly. And I remember people got so mad at me Because I said what I just said the day this happened. Imagine how mad everybody was. People were fucking furious that I said this. And I said very clearly, I said, no one's going to give a fuck about this. Next expansion's going to come out. People are going to go back to playing the game and they'll be completely forgotten about. And by the time that BlizzCon comes around, there's going to be a handful of protesters and no one's going to care. And I said that. People got so fucking mad, and I was right.
Another team, American University, would add their voices to the protest, which was also quickly censored and
right
condemned by Blizzard.
Spirit. And that is game WPI with the win. The winners just...
Similar to Blitzchung, they would also be banned from competing in future tournaments. This time for 6 months. Shortly after, then President J. Allen Brack released a statement saying that the penalties were not appropriate and that Blitzchung's winnings would be reinstated to him and that his ban would be reduced to 6 months down from 12, and also state that their business dealings with China had no influence on the initial penalties. Brack
Why even say that? Like, I don't understand. Like, why even say that? Like, why? Because, like, it's such obvious bullshit. Like, I mean, this is clearly not true. Why go a step farther to assert a lie? Why not just say, yeah, we're going to undo this, it is what it is, right? That's it.
Would open up the following BlizzCon with an apology to the mishandling of the situation, stating
we
that...
don't know that. Well, he never said what situation. Maybe he was talking about another situation, Mad Season. He never said what situation. He just said we messed up. What did they mess up on? I don't know.
Their actions would speak louder than words.
Yeah, he just said they messed up.
Are going to matter more than any of these words.
A phrase that the Blizzard community would quickly become very familiar with.
That's right.
In the same BlizzCon, the new expansion for World of Warcraft would also be revealed. Players would enter the Shadowlands and join factions called Covenants. Similar to the Order Halls in Legion, these would serve as a base of operations for players to conduct their campaign and also gain unique abilities and perks.
Oh yeah, I got killed by that yesterday.
They would also explore the Tower of Torghast, a randomized 1 to 3 player dungeon crawl with powerful affixes to power up their characters, and upon completion, gain the ability to craft legendary armor pieces, similar in function to those of the Legion expansion. Though following the poor reception of the Battle for Azeroth, many more would look at the reveal through a more critical lens.
Well, I think everybody was really positive about Shadowlands whenever it first got announced, besides the Covenants. People thought the idea behind it was cool. Like, I remember, like, that's what a lot of the sentiment was from, like, at least my community. Like, yeah, there were people that didn't like it, but I felt like the overwhelming majority of people were like, yeah, this is cool. All right, fine.
Though their current projects were met with mixed reactions, World of Warcraft Classic had seen its release in August of 2019 to surprising success. Initially holding only a handful of servers, it was quickly overwhelmed, and new servers were created to hold the surprising amount of people that had longed for the Azeroth of years long past. Upon launch, interest was so underestimated that queue times would balloon up to several hours, and even months following the release for some of the highest population
insane,
servers.
bro. Like, I had to download a program to where I could log in on my phone. So I had to remote desktop on my phone to avoid the queues.
Aspects of the game would age well, such as a renewed sense of community and a heavy focus on traditional RPG elements, and other aspects such as a solved and archaic raiding scene, and an eventual stagnation of content would remain to be problem areas within the game, as well as botting. As the game grew in popularity, so too did third-party websites offering in-game items or services in exchange for real money, a practice that's against the game's terms of service. These sites oftentimes use automated programs to obtain this currency, and Blizzard would be ineffective in controlling them throughout the duration of Classic, even though they were relatively easy to spot by the players, as displayed many times by content creators within the community.
I found a warrior mob grinding in Tanaris having a bit of trouble getting...
I love watching these videos because I literally remember reacting to them. I watched this exact fucking video.
To his target.
Cheating had always been, and continues to be, an area where Blizzard would perform poorly.
Yeah,
even in the current version of the game, but due to the more fragile nature of the economy in World of Warcraft Classic and its community, it would have greater negative consequences.
It was
So
great.
cheating
We got
was
free
to remain a
materials.
problem area due to its traditional design and the absence of what many now deemed to be an overly intrusive cash shop. It proved to hold the attention of a wide player base consistently through its year-and-a-half run, though not every re-release was to be met with the same success.
Uh-oh. Burning Crusade. Oh!
Warcraft 3
my
Reforged saw
God.
its release in the following January. Though delayed as they ensured to maintain a high-quality standard, it was universally met with negative reviews, as players saw little polish with the remaster,
God
citing a
damn.
poor UI, copious bugs, low frame rate, missing features from the original, and
Jesus.
consistent crashes.
Я
The
ещё
latter of these
из
issues
секретных
would
миров.
take the spotlight in the competitive scene shortly after. In their very first major tournament, in a quarterfinal match between two top players, Moon and Thorzane, a crash occurred at a key moment. The score was 1-1, and Thorzane seemed to be on track to take the win, but suffered a disconnect mid-match.
Thorzane smells blood in the water. He's going in for the kill here.
We have Banish ready. Mountain King was a little hurt. This is all buying time for the towers. We have no Breath of Fire, by the way. It is Drunken Haze, so big mischance.
Wait, why'd
on
they
these
stop
Dragonhawks.
attacking?
And
Wait, what?
Disconnect.
This
that fight was the most important one in this game yet.
The match would then be restarted, despite Thorzane's advantage, and he would once again retake control of the rematch, and once again suffered a disconnect.
No way!
I don't need a Blood Mage. I don't need
I didn't know it happened twice.
once this
It looks like another drop.
Man, that is crazy. I didn't know it happened twice. Holy shit, the 2-time.
Just happens. Oh wow. As Thorzane, I think I kind of like his position here in this game.
again, yeah. This is so frustrating.
The match would be replayed for a third time, and Moon, having adapted to Thorzane's strategy at this point, was the one to take the lead and eliminated Thorzane, resulting in the forfeiture of the large prize pool he surely would have won twice, though they are the most...
See, like, I would have, like, if I was Blizzard, what they should have done is they should have just said, listen, you guys are going to play a shell match. It doesn't matter who wins. You're both getting the maximum prize money. We're dumb. Like, that's it. Yeah, you're going to do a rematch, but the outcome doesn't really matter. Like, that was it. That would have been, that was the solution that should have occurred.
impactful as they happened during a quarterfinal match.
And, like, what's so crazy about this is, like, the amount of money that costs is, like, nothing. I mean, like, you have to understand, like, these guys have, like, million and billion dollar budgets. Like, we're talking about, like, what, like a fucking $50,000? Who gives a shit?
These would not be the only disconnects to occur in the tournament, as competitors in lower level brackets would also become victim to random drops at key moments.
10K.
Years later, an internal investigation would reveal that they knowingly released the game in an unfinished state, unwilling to delay it for a second time in fear of losing the pre-orders they had already amassed.
Yeah,
It
you've
was
got to
also
get those
noted
pre-orders.
that the entire project was hamstrung by a low budget due to its low potential for being a big earner for the company.
Блять, каждый
Internal
играет
sources
нахуй
would
этих
also share
возвращать
their
ебаных.
struggles with exhaustion, anxiety, and depression for more than a year, and that their warnings of the game's unfinished state being largely ignored in order to make the tight release schedule. Negative reviews continued at a steady pace.
Bro, like, that's just,
Mastered
like, I'm gonna be honest, that does not look like Arthas. Like, I think back and it's like, what's Arthas? Like, that's not Arthas, bro. Like, that's some other dude.
Funds, as players were less than impressed at the level of polish
That one
that they
kinda looks like
received
Arthas,
compared
too.
to what was promised. The classic game teams would be shut down, a new team now in their place, and in a bit of irony in a Bloomberg interview, a Blizzard spokesperson repeated the same failed promise made by Brack a few months prior, that their work and actions would speak louder than words.
Yeah.
A
Я
delay was
просидел
also
первый,
announced
это верно,
with
где гарантируется,
Shadowlands,
что
this
там
time
можно
from
найти
October
трипlet
to
нахуй. И вы
December,
видели, как
once
мне
more
дали
citing that
трипlet
extra
один.
polish is needed before a release would be made.
And I remember whenever that happened, I was actually so happy. It was during an All Craft that they announced that.